Hey friends, Neil here from Post to Post. Hope you guys are having an amazing time watching the playoff hockey. I definitely am this year, but I want to take this opportunity to kind of look back at a situation that, it's never going to exist, but it's still kind of fun to look at. I like these hypothetical situations. So I wanted to go back and rearrange the league playoff structure where it was 1 versus 16, 2 versus 15, yada, 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 and so on. A structure that does not exist, but it would be interesting if it did. So let's take a look at the matchups now and compare them to what the matchups could have been. Would they have been better than what we got this year? Let's find out. So the matchups this year, we'll just go through them quickly. Dallas versus Vegas, Winnipeg versus Colorado, Vancouver versus Nashville, Edmonton versus LA, Florida versus Tampa Bay, Boston versus Toronto, New York Rangers versus Washington, and Carolina versus the Islanders. There's some pretty good series in there. So let's see what the new hypothetical ones are in the new structure, or not the new structure, but the other structure, the 1 versus 16. So it would actually be the New York Rangers versus the St. Louis Blues. Have you noticed anything different so far? Yeah, that's right. St. Louis wasn't even in the other bracket, the one that we get now, because I believe it was Washington that was actually below St. Louis in terms of 1 to 16 and the order of the NHL. Washington was, I think, 17th, so they didn't even make it. So St. Louis would have made the playoffs under this rule, or structure rather. So the Rangers versus St. Louis, that's kind of a weird series. But I think it would be okay. It wouldn't be one that'd be like, oh my god, that would be such an amazing series. But I wouldn't be, that'd be a crap series. It's just kind of like in the middle ground. The next one, by the way, that was 1 versus 16. 2 versus 15 would be Dallas versus the Islanders. I think that would be a pretty good series, actually. I don't think it would be like knock my socks off. I wouldn't be super, super, super excited for it. But I think it would be good. I think their styles match up pretty well. Dallas can play extremely defensively if they want to. They can also play offensively. Kind of the same as the Islanders. I feel like the Islanders tend to play more defensively, but now with Patrick Roy, they're a little bit maybe more offensive. So it would be an interesting series for sure. I'd still kind of classify it as maybe a middle ground series. Carolina versus Vegas Golden Knights, I think that would be a fantastic series. That would be so good. That definitely gets top tier. That's in the great, the great category in terms of matchups. So that would be great. That's 3 versus 14, 4 versus 13. Winnipeg versus Tampa. That's pretty good. It's a pretty decent series. I think that would be interesting. It would depend on the Winnipeg team that we got though, because if we got a Winnipeg regular season team, yeah, that's pretty cool. If we got the playoff Winnipeg team, I don't know about that, but still be a pretty good series. 5 versus 12, that would be Florida versus LA. I think that would be a pretty decent series as well. Not a great one, just a good one basically. Yeah. So 6 versus 11 would be Vancouver versus Nashville. The exact same series that we actually got in this structure, so that doesn't change. 7 versus 10, that's Boston Toronto. So regardless of how the playoffs were aligned in terms of team structure, Boston is still playing Toronto. That must haunt Toronto fans. So, and I think that obviously that would be in the great category. And then the last one, 8 versus 9, that's Colorado versus Edmonton. I think that would be a really good series as well. So, yeah, there's definitely some interesting series in there. So I'm just going to quickly go back through them and just kind of maybe, I'll give them like a great, good, or like meh, kind of like there's no bad series. So meh is kind of like, we'll say is bad, but it's not bad. All series are good. So New York Rangers versus St. Louis, we'll do meh. Dallas versus the Islanders, maybe another meh. Carolina versus Vegas, I put that in the great category personally. Winnipeg versus Tampa Bay, good, I would say. Florida versus LA, maybe a meh, actually. Vancouver versus Nashville, well, we know what happened. And there was like some pretty good games, but it's not, I didn't watch a lot of the series, so maybe I'm not qualified. I'll give it a meh. It was on too late for me. Boston versus Toronto, great. Colorado versus Edmonton, we'll put it in the good. That's good. That'd be a good series. And then let's look at the series that actually existed right now, and we'll do the same thing. Dallas versus Vegas, great series. Winnipeg versus Colorado, good. Vancouver versus Nashville, meh, it would be the same thing, I guess. Florida versus Tampa, great. Yeah, I'd put that in the great category. Toronto versus Boston, great. Rangers versus Washington, that was a little bit lackluster for me. I thought it would be a lot more interesting, so we'll say meh, actually. Carolina versus Islanders, I'll put that in the good category. So I guess if we tally that all up, we've got 1 versus 16, 4 mehs, 2 goods, and 2 greats, I think. And then the current structure would be 2 3 goods and 3 greats, I believe. So I guess if we want to, go through that process, which is a bit of a silly way to do it, but I think just based on that, the structure that we have today, or at least, sorry, the matchups that we got today in these playoffs in real life, I think are probably better than the one within the 1 versus 16 matchups. However, with that said, it would be really cool to get just like 1 year of that structure, just to see if any new rivalries could be born. It's very difficult for teams in the West and the East to have a rivalry, because they only see each other at most 2 times a year. So if they played a series against each other in the playoffs, they are playing at minimum twice as much against each other as they do in the regular season, because they have to play at least 4 games. So it's I can understand the logic behind it, but it would be cool for just 1 year, and that no, the COVID 2020 year does not count. Okay, so I'm talking about a real 1 to 16 structure, but it's still cool to look back and see what could have been. So I'd be curious to read the comments down below and see your opinion. Do any of these series interest you more than what we got right now, or do you think this structure is pretty good? We got some pretty good matchups, and we definitely did this year and most years. So yeah, be curious to know your thoughts. Now, if we did 1 versus 8 in each conference, that's a totally different thing, maybe a different video. But let me know your thoughts on 1 versus 16. Hope you're having a great day watching the playoff hockey, and we'll talk to you soon. Adios.